Hey, what's up? It's Tony from Street Church, and welcome to the Inside Job Podcast. Hey, this is our first week of a little short 2-week series that we are calling Look a Little Bit Closer. Look a little bit closer. If you're anything like me, when you meet people, well, when I meet people, right, at least, I'm very prone to formulate my opinions and my thoughts on that person. You know, I formulate my own little judgments on that person from the initial meeting, right? From how they present themselves, or from how they look, or from the things that they say. And, you know, and the truth is, we meet a lot of people here in Trenton who are just living in crisis, right? They're living their lives in difficult situations. They're making poor decisions and choices, and their lives are just being ripped apart from them, whether, you know, it looks like chronic homelessness or mental health issues, you know, addiction, in and out of jail. It's just such destructive lives. And normally when I meet people, I'm so inclined to formulate my own opinions on them from the initial meeting, from what they look like, or from how they are interacting with me, right? And this is not the way of Jesus. This is certainly not the example he set forth, you know, in the Gospels. I just feel like if I'm going to go the extra mile for anybody, if I'm going to really be willing to just go the extra mile and to serve that person, if I'm going to be, you know, like if I'm going to be a shirt off my back kind of a guy and be willing to, you know, help people in any and every situation, then I have to be able to look beneath and beyond what I can just see or hear, right? I have to have a capacity to go deeper. And this is what the example of Jesus is. And, you know, there's a great little wonderful little thing. It's in the Gospels. It's in Mark chapter 14. I'll just briefly set the stage. He's at the end of his life, and he is at the house of a guy named Simon, and his apostles are there, and this woman barges in. And she pours this very expensive perfume over his head, right? Something that it was done for, you know, priests or for kings, right? That wasn't done unless it was done to somebody of royal or priestly nature. So she barges in, they're having lunch, she cracks this bottle open, and she pours this expensive ointment over her head. You would think that everybody would have been like, yes, that's awesome that she did that. She recognizes who Jesus was, that there's something so special about him that she would do this. And we see that that's not the reaction. Like, they're pissed at her. They're so angry. They're so upset, you know, at her. And I'm just going to pick it up from there. It's in Mark chapter 14, and it says this. It says, some of those who were present were saying indignantly to one another, why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given out to the poor, and they rebuked her harshly. So they were like, what is she doing? This is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's a complete waste. And they began to rebuke her harshly. What that means that they chewed her out a new one, right? They yelled at her, they screamed at her, they probably said, get out of here, you're not welcome here. Could you imagine sitting with God Almighty himself, right? Sitting with the Son of God, and they're yelling and they're screaming at her, and, you know, and they're chewing her out. And then Jesus' reaction is brilliant. He says this. You know, it's the first thing he says. I love this. He says, leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The first thing he says was, leave her alone. Stop hassling her. Why are you doing this to her? Don't you know what she did? We're not sure who this woman was. There's a few different stories. There are some people who think that she could have been Mary Magdalene, and there are some people that think that she was Lazarus' sister Mary. But regardless of who it was, she was getting chewed out by the men who Jesus would commission to change the world. Okay? So, and Jesus says, leave her alone. Leave her alone. And I think maybe if she was Mary Magdalene, right, they probably saw her they were just probably looking on what they saw with their natural eyes, right? This is a woman of ill repute. This is a woman, and she's of ill repute, and she's living a sinful life. Who does she think she is, barging in here, right? Like they were just looking on what they saw on the outside. And Jesus was able to look beneath and beyond all of that stuff to who she really was, right? A person just like them who were made in the same image that they were made in, right? Worthy of dignity and respect and value. And he saw that. And he said, leave her alone. It's so hard for us to peer through the mud and the dirt and to see the little children and people who are hurting, to see people as on the same level playing field as us, and to see people who were made in the same exact image of the same God that we were. But we need to go there, right? And there's a wonderful line. It's in a Rich Mullins song. It's called "Brother's Keeper," and I never knew what the line was. It's one of my favorite lines. He says, and they say, hold on a second. I just want to get it right. Yeah, here it is. And they say that she's a fallen angel. I wonder if she recalls when she last flew. And I never knew what that meant, so I just did some research and I found out. He was saying, that everybody is seeing this woman now as a fallen angel, right? Like she's a 30-year-old woman. She's a prostitute. She's made damaging decisions in her life that have led to a destructive life, right? And they say that she's a fallen angel, and that's the only way that they see her. But then he says, I wonder if she can recall when she last flew. I wonder if she remembers before her wings were clipped. And the things, man, that clip people's wings are horrible things that happen to them, right? Like there's never been a 5-year-old girl who has ever willingly volunteered and wanted to be a prostitute, right? No 5-year-old girl aspires to be a prostitute one day. It happens as a result of bad things that have occurred in their lives. And he's saying, they say that she's a fallen angel. That's the only way that they see her now. I wonder if she can remember back to her innocence prior to these horrible things that occurred in her life, these bad things that happened when she was a little girl that led the way to this destructive lifestyle, right? And that's the place that we need to go. If we want to be people who would give the shirt off our backs, if we want to give people who would love freely, who would serve anyone, anytime, anywhere, then we need to look beneath and beyond what we just see on the outside. And I love the example of Jesus, and he was always able to do that. So we're going to look at a few people who Jesus intersected with, and he was able to see them for who they are, and therefore he was able to love them and to help them and to minister to them in ways that impacted their lives. And One for the road. Yeah. Whenever I'm having a hard time, and I need to remember that I need to look beneath and beyond what I just see on the outside. I remember to saying, I love it. One for the road. Be kind to everybody that you meet, because everybody that you meet is going through something that you don't know anything about. That helps me, and I hope it helps you. All right. Have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.